Have you ever felt truly seen? Imagine a moment when somebody noticed your actions, acknowledged your emotions, and made you feel heard without judgment. That's the power of verbal attending, a simple yet transformative communication tool. Today, we're diving into how I notice statements can help us to connect with others, de-escalate tense situations, and foster trust. Whether you're a caregiver, teacher, parent, or leader, this skill has the potential to turn conflict into understanding and frustration into calm. If you are caring for someone else, whether paid or unpaid, and no matter how many hours you do it, did you realise that you may be missing out on thousands of pounds of discounts for things that you may use every day? The Able to Care podcast is proud to be sponsored by the UK's #1 carers card. Started by two best friends who recognise that carers deserve better and are 100% committed to helping to change the lives of all carers and bringing them together as a strong community. Carers Card UK provides support, recognition and rewards. It offers reassurance by providing an ID card that helps access emergency information when needed, while also unlocking discounts, a wellbeing hub, a carers circle tool and a community through their app. All of this for less than the price of a box of chocolates a year. There are discounts on gym membership, days out, electrical goods, clothing and even glasses. Let others know you care while taking a little care of yourself with an ID card you can be proud of. Visit carerscarduk.co.uk/promo code/able to care today to order yours. Hello and welcome to the Able to Care podcast. I'm your host, Andy Baker, and today we're going to be talking about a communication tool, sometimes referred to as verbal attending. So verbal attending is the art of using observation to connect with somebody in the moment. It's a way of saying, I see you, I hear you, and I'm with you, without jumping to conclusions or solutions as well, which is something that many of us are guilty for, of trying to solve a person's problems without permission. At its core, it involves making neutral, non-judgment statements about what you see. Like, I notice you're pacing a lot. I see your hands are clenched. These observations can help diffuse tension, provide clarity, and open up communication, especially in emotionally charged situations. So verbal attending works because it acknowledges the person. Everyone wants to feel seen and valued, especially when they're upset or struggling. It also builds trust. It builds trust because as long as the observations are neutral, we go in with a non-judgmental point of view, we're not confrontational to saying, hey, stop that, we're just observing. It demonstrates an empathy, a curiosity about how that person might be feeling. There's no judgment or blame being involved when it's put through. It de-escalates emotions sometimes as well. Sometimes if we think about the principle of CBT, that thoughts, feelings and behaviors are all interlinked. Sometimes people aren't always aware about how their feelings are actually presenting in the behaviors they do. And by actually acknowledging their behavior or kind of just being curious about the behavior, sometimes it causes them to reflect and go, I am doing that. Why am I doing that? And by changing the behavior, that can then change their feelings and thoughts. Or it can make it easier to communicate. Yes, I am feeling this right now. Yes, I am finding this difficult. It also creates clarity. By naming what's happening, you reduce confusion and focus attention in the moment as well. So, what are the key components of verbal attending? One of the things is that we need to make sure we're doing a neutral observation. No judgment, no blame going on. So we need to keep our statements simple but objective as well, focusing on what you see or hear. Avoid interpretations or assumptions. Now, you get this all the time with individuals, especially when you see it in reports sometimes, is they were angry or they look angry. But that's then straight away putting a judgment. You're making assumptions about the emotion they're feeling. Now, that's not always a bad thing as long as you say that very tentatively. Let's say they're kind of shuffling their foot across the floor and they're looking down and their hands are in their pockets. So we might make the assumption they don't look very happy. But rather than go, you might sort of say, I notice you're kind of shuffling your feet a little bit. Are you okay? And there's no judgment there. There's no, don't do that. It's just a case of, I'm wondering what's going on. So instead of saying you're angry, try, I notice I notice your voice is raised and you're clenching your fists. You get them to kind of, yes, that's because I'm angry. Then they've told you that. This is a voice putting labels on emotions and leaves space for the person to clarify how they're feeling. Now, when you are working with individuals who may not have that emotional awareness, we might kind of go, I'm wondering if you are angry. I noticed this and I'm wondering if you're angry. I notice your voice is raised and you're clenching your fist. Sometimes that means that somebody's angry. Is that how you're feeling? Maybe a way of tentatively kind of, again, exploring the emotion with the person. That does depend a little bit on the age of the person you're working with, their background, their history, their understanding. The important thing is we're not using a judgmental, we're using a curious tone. Remember that most communication is not what you say, it's how you say it. So make sure we stay calm, steady, supportive to ensure our observation doesn't come across as critical. So I notice you're pacing back and forth rather than why are you pacing so much? Also on that one, why is immediately a judgmental, like justify yourself. Whereas the other one by saying, I notice you're pacing back and forth quite a lot. It's just observing it. I'm just commenting on it. I'm just curious about it. There's no indication that I need it to stop, wanted to stop, that I'm annoyed at you or anything like that. It's genuinely just a case of, please help me to understand what's going on. Focus on the present moment. So verbal attending is most effective when it's about what's happening right now. This helps ground the person and shifts their emotions or their attention in that immediate moment as well. So I see you tapping your foot quickly right now instead of you're always so restless or you were tapping your foot earlier. I notice you're tapping your foot right now. I had this on a course one time where I think I must have been impatient. I was waiting for some learners to come back in off the break. And I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I was tapping my fingers on the table. And the lady kind of smiled a little bit and just said, I know you're tapping your fingers. How are you feeling right now? And it was just that caused me to go, oh, sorry, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Now she knew it was because I was feeling impatient. I knew it was because I was feeling impatient, but I was getting myself wound up. The more I tapped my fingers, the longer it felt like everybody was taking to come back off the break. But actually, when I stopped tapping the fingers and just having a conversation with her, I felt less agitated. I felt less irritated and less frustrated as a result of that, which improved my day as an outcome. Okay, so that's an example of where, without realizing it, that lady actually de-escalated me just from that very thing of just acknowledging or recognizing my behavior. So it opens the door to dialogue. I started engaging with her. By naming what you observe, you invite the person to share more about what's going on. I know you've been looking out the window quite a lot, just wondering what's on your mind. This shows curiosity and creates space for the person to express themselves. Okay? And notice how I just go, what you thinking? Penny for your thoughts. I'm saying, why am I saying this? Why am I questioning this? Why am I wondering this in this moment? Give a reason for it so you're being explicit about why the curiosity is occurring. It also potentially validates emotions without judgment. So observing actions can help validate emotions without assuming or dismissing them. So you see your hands are shaking a little bit. It seems like you're feeling something strong right now. Okay? This lets a person know their emotions are acknowledged, not ignored. It allows us to potentially build connection. It can also interrupt the escalation, just like it did with me with the finger tapping. That rather than kind of then telling me to stop for tapping my fingers, just going, I notice your fingers are tapping. How are you feeling right now? Got me to self-analyze. I noticed you started, so let's look at another example. I noticed you started raising your voice. Let's take a moment to talk about what's going on. This shifts the focus from the conflict to the behavior, reducing emotional tension between us. I'm not condemning. I'm not telling you to change how you're feeling. I'm just acknowledging your behavior, and then let's discuss it. Let's figure it out together. And that allows us to build that connection and trust. By regularly using verbal attending, it helps us to build rapport and trust, showing others that you're with them, you're present, you're engaged, you're connecting with them in that moment. So another example. So I see you've been really focused on that project. You're putting a lot of effort into that. Okay. So again, just acknowledge what I'm doing, but that isn't about de-escalation, but it's about positing a meaningful, engaging relationship. So remember with this technique, it's a common thing that a lot of parents do instinctively with their children when it comes to things like play. So how often will you hear a parent going, wow, you're stacking those bricks really high and you're really concentrating, aren't you? So straight away, there's no condemnation, there's no judgment, there's just narration. And there's a little bit of just, hey, I'm with you in this moment. It builds connection. It's part of the attunement process, part of the co-regulation process, all coming into play. So when can we use verbal attending? Well, when we are, for any caregiver out there, we often face emotionally charged moments, especially when someone's anxious, confused, or distressed. And verbal attending helps to de-escalate those situations by focusing on that person's experience in that moment. So we can, we can be curious without asking why. We can just be tentative and kind of, hey, I notice you're holding onto your arm. Are you feeling any discomfort at all? Now, maybe a case of they're in pain. It could be a case of they're feeling anxious. It could be a case of they're feeling angry and trying to regulate themselves. There's no judgment. Just shows you're inviting them to share more. I used it with a guy on a training course one time. I just sort of mentioned I seem to be struggling to engage with you. If something going on I'm not aware of. Just purely because he seemed to be struggling to connect and was disengaged and struggling to focus. And there was stuff going on in his personal life. So that's exactly the same thing that any teacher can use within the training. You seem quite, I'm going to see you close your book. Are you feeling a bit stuck on that? Or is there anything I can do to help? It might be just it's boring, or it could be, but there's something going on underneath it. For all of this, we can also, from a caregiving or a parental point of view, we can also use, with children particularly, verbal attending to help children to understand their own emotions and their behaviors and how they link together. And this is where things like empathic narrative or empathic commentary, as it's sometimes referred to, is a kind of useful tool that goes alongside the verbal attending. So I notice as an example, I notice your eyes are tearing up. It seems like something's upset you. Do you want to talk about it? We're helping people to link their emotions with their feelings. Wow, you're really struggling to sit still right now. I'm wondering if you're feeling a little bit worried about something. Do you want to talk about it? Worried or excited, you can expand it out. Okay. So by demonstrating or narrating on the action or the behavior they're doing, next time when they're struggling to sit still, they might go, oh, am I feeling anxious or am I feeling excited? Let me explore my own emotions from the behavior that I'm exhibiting in this particular moment. When we are using effective or how to use effective verbal attending. So one, practice it. Combine verbal attending with other active listening techniques. So making eye contact, nonverbal cues, show that you're fully engaged with them, especially if you've gone in with verbal attending. Make sure you're listening afterwards. Don't walk up to somebody and say, notice you got your fist clenched, and then just walk away from them. That's not how it's going to work. Avoid over-interpreting. Stick to what you can actually see rather than necessarily diving in and guessing someone's emotions or motives. If you are going to mention those, do them very tentatively in a kind of I'm a wondering way. You don't have to say I'm wondering, but in a way that demonstrates that you're just curious. You're just trying to figure it out yourself. If you think there is ambiguity, like I'm not sure which emotion you're feeling right now, then we can actually narrate on that ambiguity. There's something about your behavior, there's something about the way you're clenching your fists that's making me wonder. I can't tell whether you're happy or whether you're feeling annoyed. Do you want to talk about it? So we can actually then narrate that ambiguity in that moment. Be patient. Sometimes verbal attending doesn't always lead to immediate responses as well. Give the person time to process it and respond. If they don't feel ready or they are masking an emotion, they might be doing that to hide something. They may not feel ready to share that with you. Make sure we use it regularly as well. Like any skill, we have to practice it. We can't just do it. When you're out and about, when you're engaging with others today, maybe with your partner, maybe with your kids, try and find an opportunity to notice somebody's behavior and just attend to it. Just notice it and acknowledge it, but in a non-confrontational and accepting way. Verbal attending is more than just a communication tool. It's a way of showing maybe you care and genuine respect. By simply saying, I notice, we let others know that we're present, we're engaged, and that we're also ready to listen. And remember, sometimes that smallest gesture, like noticing, can make the biggest of differences. And when we're looking at behavior management, we're looking at de-escalation, when we're looking at the principles of managing people's frustrations and challenges, those little things can make a big difference, definitely. Have you ever encountered an adult or child's behaviour that has felt difficult, overwhelming, or challenging? Have you sometimes felt at a loss of what to do, or know that you didn't handle it quite right? People are complex and unpredictable, and their behaviour can be like the weather. We've all made the mistake of looking out the window and feeling safe to wear shorts, but 5 minutes later wishing for an umbrella. But what if, like a weatherman, you understood how humidity, temperature and pressure all come together to cause the weather, allowing you to better prepare, predict and respond, and prevent ever having a picnic ruined by a thunderstorm ever again? My book, called Targeting the Positive with Behaviours that Challenge, helps you to become the weatherman of behaviour. It provides you with a toolkit to increase competency, confidence, resilience and empathy, so you feel more assured about how to respond to distressed or dysregulated behaviours in others, including those affected by trauma, mental health, neurodiversity, learning disabilities or dementia. Build better connections, achieve de-escalation and improve outcomes for yourself and those you engage with my celebrated 6-stage target model, a step-by-step process to reduce distress for everyone. Discover my empowering, person-centered guide in Targeting the Positive, written by me, Andy Baker, available from online bookstores worldwide. Find a link in the description and order today.